So welcome everyone to the first ever episode of the Nuh Dry Talk podcast. This is just a podcast we can just sit down, we can talk, we can have fun about issues that is just put out there. Like people in positions, people in authority just put out these terms, climate change, water security, and they don't really give context or explanation. So we can seek to discuss it and have fun with it. And today's topic is going to be on something called the water crisis. And to help me discuss and talk about that is one of my good friends. I'm going to let you introduce yourself right now.
Hi, my name is Jevan, and we'll be talking about water scarcity, the water crisis, the global water crisis. Yeah, so I guess we could jump into it.
Yeah, so first and first, you gonna want to know what is this water scarcity? What is water crisis? Like, I don't hear about this in the news. I just hear about 2020 elections. We don't hear about these things. The water scarcity, it just means in its terms the inability to meet the demand for water. 5 people, you can only give 3 people water. So that is water. And with it comes a lot of different terms that are kind of confusing. You got water stress. What that basically is you're just trying to quantify, okay, how much people can get water. Is it high probability a lot of people get water, 50%, 80%? How much percent of people can get water? And you got terms like water shortage, which is basically like when you have a drought, you may not have enough water during that time, but that's only for a particular time. And I think that's what is being spoken about a lot, water shortage, not having water for a long time. So what do you hear about in terms of this water scarcity? You hear anything about it, Jevan?
Well, in terms of water scarcity, like you said, is not really covered as much. I think as far as I can remember, the most extensive coverage that I've seen in recent memory has been the whole water crisis that's in Cape Town. Because I mean, a lot of people don't really think that there's a water crisis per se, a global water shortage. Because I mean, what I think is about 93% of the planet is covered in water. So it's like you get up every day, you take a shower, you brush your teeth, you go to the fridge, you drink water. Like it's just something that's accessible to you. But there's so many. If you really start to look into it, you see so many different realities for a lot of different people where their entire livelihood is based around trying to find water, trying to get water, access to water, where water is such in our daily lives and, where we all constantly have access to water, water is just something like a second thought. They don't really think about it. But for other people, it's just their entire life, their reality. It's like trying to find water, trying to collect water is their job, basically.
I don't know if I told you this, but there was one. As I said, we do get accustomed to just having water coming out in pipes. And when we were first met with it not being present, we were very confused as to what's the scene. I remember when I was a freshman, just going on all bright-eyed, and I turned on the taps and there was no water. I can't believe it. But it wasn't saying I wasn't used to, because I'm my home country. Of course, we would have times when the pipe is off for whatever reason. But this one was a bit long and annoying. And then I just got in this mindset, because I didn't know anywhere or whatnot. Like, they had this big jug of water in the front hall, in the living area for all of us, right? I see these. I don't know anyone on this. I know getting. I don't know anyone on this flat. These men just look big. So I don't feel like going and steal these men water. And I mean, but just to put you in a mindset, I think, you gotta steal water to survive. It makes you realize how vital water is. When you have it, it's love. All is good. As soon as you don't have it, you start again this mindset of you need it. And there were a lot of instances, as you said, in Cape Town, when the South African government, the municipal sector just told the people, we can cut off your taps indefinitely, and you will have to line up and get water rationed to you. So that's a reality that most cannot fathom. Me, God won't get water to shower. That is something that we don't want in our daily selves. So we need to understand that is an issue and something that we need to draw attention. And one of the funniest things, I don't know if it's funny, but one of the things that came out of that was the notion, I think it was a slogan, if it's yellow, let it mellow. That's how serious it was. That they were telling the people, if it's yellow, let it mellow. You need to conserve water. You get to the thing, you got to implement these measures that are so fringe. And
what they say yellow?
No, they were saying when you pee, let it chill.
Oh,
don't flush unless is
it's necessary.
That's what it meant. So then it raises the issue then. we live on a planet surrounded by a bunch of water. So people wonder, like, how is it that people don't have water? So what's the issues? A lot of people don't understand that. Islanders probably should be some of the most aware, but that is a double-edged sword because it's surrounded by water. There's always we met water. The sea, or the oil. There's a lot goes into that.
I think one thing is not that the planet, the water is not good. There's a cycle. It's more that there's not enough water, drinkable water. People have 1% water. I think that is not that there's enough. But also to mean that is not only how we as impacts. Because I'm not sure if everybody would know a lot of the water that people is from fresh water around aqua.
On that point, most of the fresh water, because what you brought up was a good distinction. We need to understand that the water that in the oceans and in the seas, that's not what we drink. You don't drink salt water. You drink fresh water. So that's an entirely different ball game. And most of that is in the ice caps. The boy ain't going they're melting those just so. But beyond that, in terms of the rivers and the lakes, the underground waters has the most amount because of how difficult that was to extract in the past or just to get to us. We settle next to the lakes and the rivers. That's easy for us to do. As we got better, we get new technology, we dig wells, access more of that. But in addition to the fact that there possibly is enough fresh water to go around, the fresh water isn't the same everywhere. Like the people in Canada who have all of their lakes and whatnot, those aren't the people that would be in sub-Saharan Africa, the deserts and stuff. The water isn't available the same. So that's something you need to take into account.
It's not even quality either. Yeah, maybe fresh water, a lot of it stagnant as out of dire necessity.
Yeah, so that's a byproduct. So one of the things that I think we need to look, there is a water crisis, so we need to recognize that. So, and without that recognition, you can never get to the meat of the matter, which is how you can handle it and cope with it. And I think some of the major things that impact on this water crisis talking about now is one, water we need is not available everywhere. You find it more accessible. Then you have population growth is another major factor that is affect water and consumption. Because if the population keeps increasing, more and more people will water, and as we develop, we get richer, we do more things. You can use more water, more people can get pools, more people can eat steaks, which is another big. So we need to think about that also. And a lot of people don't realize that in terms of the water that's in the planet, most of it going to you drinking or you flushing your toilet, most of it goes into agriculture and industry. Another big
factor, probably a lot poorer country promise also in fact is poorest. So we are obviously part of it. All right, all farmers and blocking the structure of the aqueducts because you creating 700, but you also take a big natural risk.
So I think, and that in itself that raises two other major concerns for water. In that one, water is highly valued, is very very highly valued, but it's not. You don't price it as much as its value because water is considered a human right. Water is a human right. So that means everyone, regardless of social standing, must have access to it. So that allows for, meaning you can't charge the proper cost of it for it. So you may not be able to maintain stuff that goes along with it. Like if you got pipe networks, it may be better for you, financially speaking, to let some burst pipes go along because the price of fixing it is nowhere near what you're getting in terms of the bill. So then you have to balance out, okay, what do I want to do? I want to fix this network. Yeah, how are you going to fix it? Can't charge it because people able to afford it. So there's a whole balancing act, and there's a whole balancing act that goes along with that. And I think people will need to understand that. And then people who are more financially stable, these major companies, they could come in and take over, like settle all the water here and then deprive others of water. So then it comes into the government's point of view. What is the government going to do? Is it going to push development continually to the point that, you got civil unrest? Because that is going to be the case if you keep denying your poor sections of the populace the water. There's going to be some kind of unrest and civil violence. Is that what you want over development? That's another main thing. I think some bank, Goldman Sachs, said that water is the new petroleum of the industry.
Yeah,
and
it will become.
Yeah, and you got major companies investing in water rights and waterways. So that means that's setting it up potentially for a misuse of the resource. When it finally gets to that break point where people are like, okay, we need to price it more. You don't have much of it to control. Most of it is in private hands. So, and private entities don't care. Maybe some that care, they could be, but is a money making endeavor at that point. So what you can do? You got any ideas?
See, that's the tough thing. I mean, in terms of trying to get more water, a lot of bodies to catch will desalinate. But these things, one, they cost a lot of money. The hardest part is not developing, it's trying to pitch it to governments, to country, making it seem worthwhile to spend this money trying to get water to the population. Because like I said, unless you live unless you're not going to stand one more, a lot of these governments, a lot of these politicians, they get up, turn on a shower like normal. They don't understand how it is to get up 5 a.m. and walk for miles to go to a pipe to collect water for your family and to walk back and get home at 3 p.m. And
in all honesty, I don't feel a lot of, because this is about over 780 million people that really without clean and sanitized water. I think it has prompted a lot of international and regional agencies. I know the UN, they have a Sustainable Development Goal 6, I believe, is clean and sanitary drinking water. Have regional agencies in the Caribbean, high-level forum that's supposed to do water. But one of the major things both of these two governing bodies are what realize is that, yes, it is vital, yes, it is important, but one of the major thing that will contribute to water security is a political and a government will.
Yeah.
Because if you have it that the government really does not care, the government, like we're cruising along very well with our 42% for spikes or leaks. Mexico, I think in the Caribbean is have 30, 40, so it's 50% leaks in the water network. We're cruising along because the cost of repairing that is so much more. I think a report done in America in 2017 found that to repair their pipe network would cost north of $1 trillion. No government is willing to pay that much money.
You look at that cost, but then you look at what other things a lot of other wealthy spending that sort of money. For example, you just look at how much money military budget, $1 trillion out of the U.S. military budget.
I don't know. Listen, I'm not an American. I don't know where they're fighting. They could protecting us from aliens. I don't. But a puzzle is strongly needed. And being from the Caribbean, we have a wet season and a dry. And unfortunately, our wet season isn't we can get a lot of rain. Our wet season is a hazard-prone season where you get hurricanes. Yeah. So it's not really looked forward to. And most of the countries are really think they get groundwater. So it's the added cost of pumping that water, the added cost of pumping that groundwater. So, and the most I usually hear about water management or anything in the Caribbean is don't water your lawn, don't wash your car. I don't know if it's because I'm ignorant to the news, but I don't hear a lot in terms of pushing of how valuable water is, especially for a region that is predominantly water.
But I mean, in terms of all of, not really, we saw you're wondering your tactics at home.
These alarmist terms.
Yeah, it's probably to try to get some sort of how we our water practice.
I don't believe there's a time for alarmist tactics, but I believe a more measured approach. I believe like just educating the people as to why it's important, telling them the dangers that could come about this. Because I don't believe most people want to hear the slogan, if it's yellow, let it mellow. So you should have the realization there of what can I do by myself. And I think the region, and I think we need to get away. I saw this, and it was a Dominican, their water trade company. They did a physical report, and the guy that did the report is saying that we need to get away from just managing the water. Like we focus too much on just getting the water to the household. Now bear with me, that may seem weird. We mean we focusing too much to the pipe. But what the guy was saying is that we tend to focus on, okay, if it rains, we can't get water. If it doesn't rain, we can't get water to you because there's no water in the land or whatnot. And what they were saying is that there are countries, Singapore, Japan, that they would import water by tankers from other countries that that have an abundance of water, because we did say that water isn't the same everywhere. So you gotta look into ways of getting it. If you managing a financial book, if you have less money here, you want more money, you're gonna look for alternate ways to boost your financial backing. But it seems when it comes to water, it is either we got water or we don't have water. And we don't even capture a lot of the rainwater that we get. It just runs off into the ocean or into the poor drainage networks in some instances that aren't clean. And we continue to hear by the leaders, oh, don't bathe for so long, don't water your lawn and stuff. Okay, we're doing that and we're still having major issues. It's time to get inventive. It's time to get inventive and rethink our stratagem as to how we're going to provide water. It shouldn't just be a case of, okay, we can get the water today and tomorrow. We need to look at what type of lifestyle we want for our people. And taking into account the population growth. If you know that the next 5 to 10 years, you can have a population of 100,000 and your population, of course, isn't that. You need to make planning that you could service all of those people to the level that the people currently are getting water. You need to plan for that, because if it isn't the case, then people will be like, man, I can't get water, and they can complain. And that is how you could possibly civil undertake. Yeah. I know we mentioned industry and agriculture, but another sector, especially for those countries that are very big on the tourism sector, I think they need to look at that. What are your views on looking at tourism and its water management?
I think maybe it was you, that when we were looking to see the amount of, not only but also all the hotels, the activities that tourists, just the standard of standard of tourists expect,
And that is expected. More that is expected. Yeah. Also, is expected that the water hot. So
yeah, exactly.
It's expected that the water hot. You imagine that when you pay, it's going to cover lighting, all of those things you imagine is going to cover. The price of water isn't nearly as much as what it goes into maintaining the pools and all the water sports. It's not the same. So then we have to consider, okay, because you can experiment with things like making certain sectors pay more for water. But yeah, like if you're going to use excessive amounts of water for your sector, we understand that your sector demands a lot, but we also need to ensure that the people who aren't a part of this and the everyday goers have a certain level of lifestyle that's maintained. Because in the country, I think it was some Asian country, the hotel sector, the tourism sector uses up to, like, in some instances, 65% of the drinkable water. The rest of the public now is in distress. And again, you have social issues now. That this is my country, that my forefathers paid taxes. I am possibly a road worker. I help lay these pipes. And you're denying me equal access to the water for someone who's merely visiting for average vacation, probably 2 weeks. Why is it that I have to live less of a lifestyle than they do? Because let's be frank, they also found that in the developed countries, like say the France, the America, the amount of water used by tourists and the amount of water used by the local person is the same. So why is it that I must give up my rights to make this person more comfortable to that extent? Yeah. We need to discuss issues like that. So then it becomes an issue of equality of water, that ticklish there. So, and again, government will comes into play there, because they're going to look at money making and say what we need to do to continue to make this sector survive.
Exactly. The value is always suffering. Like I said, it's government, the governing water dependent was it not. But because I remember I was watching So Dry Rocks or Dusty Headwater agency past big trees all on it.
They're going to be disparities. The thing is, you don't want disparity to be just so severe.
Yeah.
And I think that's a major issue there. What we need.
Like these small farmers basically growing a lot of the crops for export in practical desert. Like you seeing where a lot of the ingredients of our foods come from. If you have to see where they're grown, it's almost a miracle that you can grow something. You're literally trying to grow food in a desert.
That's the case. So
it's like I see it like a lot of people, especially in that situation, because food, they will sacrifice the water to give it to the crop.
That is as a whole other kettle of fish. But you have to wonder, because we need to solve the problem. Some people will say if we price the water more as how it should be priced. It would possibly make people use it more conservatively, think more wisely. So if there's price in such a way, maybe you ain't gonna go to grow a water intensive in a desert. Maybe you can invest in irrigation that is just flooding the whole area. Because you then have to more precisely. You need to get more bang for your buck. As it sounds, no, just use it. It can come back. It can rain. And
you can't even depend on it.
Yeah, because again, climate change is another one. It's not raining as it used to. It's either raining more sporadic every other month, or sometimes not at all. And again, it's raining. And as it gets hotter and stuff, you can need more water to grow the same, to eat the same, to have the same lifestyle. You can drink more water. Your crops can need more water. So these are all issues that come at you. And one thing is these agencies that say the UN, water, or the same forums in various regions in Caribbean, at the end of the day, I don't believe they have any enforcement arm of it, whereby they're monitoring and reporting. So they can tell you should possibly think about this, or each country should use it as a guide. What I'm saying is, if your water is clean, then you should possibly focus on making sure that you have a good delivery network. If you have very polluted water, it wouldn't make the most sense to say, okay, I want to make a delivery network when you don't even have water to provide. Then the country has a plan, as in it needs to be practical. Because all these agencies want you to do this and do that, you can't do that. What's practical? You need to think about what's practical for your development as a country. And this was practical based on the amount of funding you have, either locally or externally. And that's another part that goes thinking of what is needed for, and then finding a way to finance. Because I think we go with a broad brush too much and say, okay, we need to provide more clean drinking water. But what if drinking water isn't what if you have a burst network? What if you're bad? But the agencies or the political agencies or organizations, they're only giving up funding for making water cleaner. You have clean water, so you don't have access to it. So the means of assessment then of water needs to change as well. But it is not all bleak. It is not all bleak, I believe, to overcome this water crisis. And some of them were mentioned earlier. So just your opinions and your thoughts on some of them. You mentioned desalination. Is that a viable method, desalination, to help get rid of this water crisis? Or?
Well, desalination is not totally, but also there's a lot of large-scale desalination, a lot of the salt from the water gonna go into a whole other set of problems. There are these.
We have to be aware. So what if? Okay, so that's not making desalination look bad. It's just saying
it isn't. But
So what if we? Because I
the grand scheme, I think is a fallback, but it's not bad to look.
Okay, to build on that, I read somewhere that said like a desalination plant to service 300,000 people, like US 100 million. So and if you have the infrastructure and the money, the building may not be too much of an issue, so you could probably build fast. But if for populations, large populations, 3 million or 4 million, that ain't really the showstopper. Yeah. So what if then you say, what is if you got a tourism industry and you say, okay, we can have a desalination plant to provide these hotels and their water sports and whatever with this water to ease the overall strain then on the other. But the kick in is, if you're building a hotel, you're going to need to put forth some money for the maintenance and development of these desalination plants. Because it can't be building your resource in this country, you're getting all of the money to send back to your country. And the only thing you say you're providing, okay, we're providing jobs, we're boosting the economy. But a job is meaningless if you can't buy food or you can't drink water. So, and at the end of the day, you're getting your water that you're just maintaining something. And it's not you alone. You just spread it across all the players in the tourism industry. And you say, listen, the cost of this supply you is what? And you sit down and you have a discussion as to how you can. So you ensure then that industry is isolated. They have their own network, they manage, and it gives reprieve. The other set on the average Joe, that way you should hopefully lessen this tension in those countries, the civil unrest between why the tourists got this, why I got that. I have done deliberately. I think that could be a viable solution, a talking point. But then again, it depends once again, and if the government's willing to approach these tourism industries and tell them put up or shut up. Some of them may not have that, not be so brazen to do something. I think that's another one. I think you mentioned earlier is climate change. I think the Amazon rainforest provides a ton of water to the Brazil basin and whatnot, and it may be difficult to capture that water. That's still the clouds that come from that help water a lot of the area. And so I think we need to preserve some of our vegetation.
Yeah.
Chop down trees willy-nilly. And if you do
a lot of mistakes, grow back, or just cut them, grow back.
The understanding of the consequences, the repercussions, the planning isn't there. So we possibly need to have a deeper discussion with these major sectors and how they use water. Like have a discussion with the people in agriculture. Let them know you can't just your irrigation method can't be turned on a faucet and let it flood. That's not your irrigation. If we find you doing that, we will charge you heavily. We need to approach this and say we work to supply off the network your own desalination plant or whatnot. And another one that we can think about possibly, the bilateral agreements or multilateral agreements, places that would have excess water. If other nations can do it, I don't see why we can't. Because I think Dominica, I think they're supposed to have an abundance of water. So we could look into possible importing of water, as odd as it may seem. Some people may say about all the fossil fuels that can go into water. Well, I think you need to take a back door and shut up. I would like to see it discuss more the methods at which people secure themselves, because we've been talking about how organizations can help with water security. But I think the individual has to take upon themselves to try and secure of also. One of the easiest ways of which to do that, I believe, is invest in a water tanker. Get its water tank, and you have some water in there so that, unfortunately, if something hits, you're not out in the dry immediately. Give yourself some breathing. But
I wonder too if when we don't see, they aren't directly affected. And I wonder if I wonder if it creates or only keep water tank get access to.
Oh boy, you just shook me there. I have never considered that.
Because I wonder if why a lot of people get it. I know some people, but I wonder if it's because you don't have. Is it like a
stigma or something? Something. I had no idea. I don't know. I've never viewed it as a stigma. Whoa.
It's just something to think.
I actually don't know. I can't say I do on that. I would hope not, because I believe farms would have reserve is a reserve. Any form of surplus, I don't feel should stigma. I mean, if you got 2 bank accounts, one for saving, I don't think people gonna look on you for having a surplus there. And if they do, I think they're pretty weird. They're weird. So I don't believe it should be that. And I would encourage people, don't have one. I think the one that we had, it had a hairline. So we need to invest in. But I think, and in some instances, water tanks are actually enforced by legislation. But when I say enforced, they're actually on the law books. But people don't say, okay, do you have your water tank? Well, no, I think having a water tank doesn't mean that you just turn on the faucet. I've seen people integrate it into their networks. They would get water. The water would come and fill up the tank. Then they would turn off that system or whatnot and just get water from the main. And when it is a case where there's not water from you, you just switch over to your water
to the tank.
Right. And I don't believe that's poverty right there. Even if you don't get the intricate network, having a couple gallons of water up there for washing and stuff like that, I don't see, when it rains, catch a bucket of water, wash your car.
Like I said, people, this whole gather, collecting. Some people may see that as, back in the day with the older people, that had to stop it. Only the ones that were maybe not as fortunate to have running water to their house will go and have to water the stuff. But it's the same thing as people that didn't have a toilet. The whole pit toilet mindset of certain.
That's a valid. I see the point, but I think just a discussion whereby is not making you less. If anything, is making you more. And for having that safeguard for thinking. So I think general ad or discussion to get them on that, because I don't believe people are complete idiots.
Yeah.
So in most cases, a little talk would go a long way. Unfortunately, you may have to cut back on your extensive garden. Yeah, don't go engaging.
Make sprinkler systems. And
don't go
using holes to
engaging.
water and all this. Yeah.
Don't go in water or things that can cut a lot as a whole time.
Yeah, but you know, these things, like I said, like, water is also a sign of status. Like the rich people must have a pool. You're not living a lavish lifestyle.
Okay. As a sign of status,
fountains.
Or put up to pay up. Pay up to put up. However that goes, I don't know. But I think Philadelphia, they were experimenting with tying your water bill to your finance.
Okay.
So you know like how you have bracket, earn this much, pay this much tax. You earn that much, pay that much tax. They were basically going to say, you earn this much, you pay this much for water. So what are your views on that? You may be middle class, or whatnot. Then you become a millionaire. You upper, and you don't really feel that you should be paying more for water because it could be seen as being punished for successful. But
it's like
what's your take on
I
that?
honestly think people should use. So I feel as though if you as an upper class person you show off, you want big fountain, you so that when they run their cars, all the koi things that you got to live instead of this fountain or pond or what. I feel as though if that's what should have to be the cost of,
All right. So what about not to be the devil's advocate, but what about those small farmers? Farm uses more water than normal residential use. So it's purely on volume. If it's purely on volume, hurting the farmers. And if the farmers manage to survive that volume, that price hike, they gotta be transferred. So the price of whatever crop they were growing has to go up. And then the price of whatever was being made from that crop has to go up. So now your $5 burger hitting you at $8 and you vex at the world. So is it we gonna price them based on consumption, or we try to do like taxes and work out something for how much you earn? Or I know like some people have a threshold. If you use this amount of gallons, that's at a certain rate. Over that, you're gonna balloon it. These are things that I guess people who sit down can have a chat and think. I don't know.
But how is it that utilities, electricity, how is that? Because obviously
you're paid. I think you pay for what you use.
But in terms of like big, obviously like a hospital. I mean, not use a hospital, a necessary service, like a large building.
Yeah, you mean like corporate buildings?
Large corporate buildings. Obviously, a lot of keeping offices on late.
They would probably have their own corporate bracket. Utility company would probably give a corporate rate. They're expected to use a lot of it.
Yeah. So wouldn't something like that also?
You mean give farmers their own farming bracket?
Yeah.
If it isn't implemented, it could be. All right. So are there any other ways in which we can go about? We spoke about tackling sectors and make sure that they are part of the water management. So what we're basically saying is every major player in water, we have a discussion and see how that could. We thought about we thought about importing some of the water, and the individual taking some onus on itself, whether it be on getting a tank, not using water as much as pricing it differently for all of that. Okay. Talk about costing the water to the. No, it's not water. Water security isn't just the water. It's the network, the pipeline. We touched briefly on earlier about how north of $1 trillion as of 2017 to repair America's pipeline. Yeah. That is integral also in delivering the water and making sure that it's clean. All the testing that has to go into the water. How are we going to collect our charges? Are we going to put that on a water bill? Are we going to tax people? How are we going to? Because we need to fix the burst pipes.
Yeah.
We need to fix them. And as far as you know, the water bill doesn't usually account for that there. Because I think in the same report in America, they said it would cause the average 3-person household to pay $45 more on their bill. The more people you have, the smaller we get because of the division. But how would you say we pay for that? Do we take loans or we make the bill more? Or do we just tax those who use more water?
I think that's the key part, because It's always, it's like I said, it's always when he has the pipe you get, that will live for putting all of the restriction tax, all of these penalties on it. That will cause a lot of fallout. I think that's the difficult part in how to approach, pretty delicate.
Again, it is a crisis. It's a crisis, so it means a crisis situation means, unfortunately, you have to ask tough questions at inappropriate times.
Yeah.
At inappropriate times. That's what a crisis means. Inappropriate time. Okay, you make new money. Okay, using a bit too much. You got one or two options. Try to cut back on. You use or pay. Tough break. Tough break. You want a water tank, or you want to pay more on your bill to ensure that this pipe network don't cause much forces that we could capture. If you're the citizen and you complaining about not catching enough water or not making, let me talk about and pay for this. You want me to take a loan? I'm not asking governments to go to the average Joe and ask if you should take a loan. The average citizen, they know about that there. But I mean, you have to understand how you pay for it. You charge these people more. Put out a survey. How would you feel about paying 2 to 3 more times your water bill if it? No. Realistically, you gotta approach the populace, man. Because if they don't have a decision in it, when they start to see negative ramifications, they can just start to get angry because in their eyes they had no part of this. They elected you to help, and you just let things run rampant. So on that note, do you feel like there's good communication in terms of when people try to solve these UN sustainable development goals? So a lot of people don't necessarily know about it. It could be communicated better. And would that better communication help these areas?
Yeah, I think our population.
Said the average Joe doesn't need to be a scientist or a hydrologist. They don't need to know every little detail.
Like I said, I don't ever think a lot of people that suffer.
But there needs to be, and we gotta protect. As it seems unfair, you have to protect, because this is where the taxing on your water will get iffy. No one likes taxes, and people who earn more, by default, we can assume they're harder working and they put in more. So you shouldn't really be punishing, because it may be seen as a punishment, but it's so all of us can have some sense of the standard. I watched it was a documentary. It was a documentary, and I couldn't believe how these scumbag men was moving. No, scumbags. These particular men were moving as scumbags. So women, I think it was again in another arid region, the Eastern Hemisphere in Africa. These women would have to walk large amounts for some water, and when they got watering hole, they were owned by these men. And these men decide. The men gonna put on no interest. The men gonna say, "All right, you owe me this." These men just decide for what? Scumbag. And whilst other places you may not get that immediate disgust, because I think that disgust factor would make people like, that's so unjust, it's wrong. But in our side, it may not be you got to put up something so personal for water. It may be you get less quality water. Your network won't be maintained. You sometimes get brown water coming out your pipes, and that's it's corruption. It allows for corruption. Beyond more people being aware and taking it seriously in terms of what they can do as an individual. And I think people can form groups together in community. And even if you as an individual can't afford a water tank, safety, some of the community members really value in buying water service to a household to make your community more. At the end of the day, you want the water as well. You know? Yeah. I believe like if parishes, the counties, the states, whatever, those predominant leaders start taking this being a issue, potential voters, it'll start to get more traction. So I think the top-down approaches, I don't believe work as well, because who at the top gets service. So I believe the lower-level people should come together and make a bottom-up. See how bad you can make yourself more resilient. On that, I don't really have nothing else to say. I would, as a man, I kind of dig a urinal. Dude, I am so serious. Reading about this issue and stuff has made me more aware. I'm not
3 gallons of water in it.
Yeah, and most of it is from urine. And I feel like letting it mellow. Yeah. So give me a urinal. Maybe that's saying the individual could take. You have any closing views on this water crisis?
Really, I think it's something that more people. I didn't mind myself this extent the gravity started. It was how under the radar
to see it. to hear about something is completely different to see it or experience. You can only hope that awareness will increase. People will try to make themselves more resilient, and we as a species, find a way to get over it. And I believe we can overcome if we take it seriously. If there's a political will, I think we can. I can thank you, Jevan, for having this discussion with me, helping push this conversation along. It's been very helpful and nice. Thank you again. And
It's a pleasure.
thank all of you there for listening to the first ever episode of Nuh Dry Talk podcast. We hope to see you again soon. Have a great day.